Welcome to the BitGeek podcast. I'm your host, Ron Avis, and sitting with me to my left is my co-host, the Prince of Pixels,
Nick Wright.
And today we're going to be having an interview with Cosmotrons creators, Arcadeaholics, LLC. So, Nick, this year at the Louisville Arcade Expo, we look forward to it. We go to it every year. Mm-hmm. We walk in the front door and we're kind of scanning what we're going to play. And, off to my left a little bit, I see this like really attractive, bright screen with green vector graphics.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is that? Okay.
It was like a real wide screen.
Yeah, really attractive.
4-player.
Right. It's like, I'm going to go look at the stuff for sale, but then I want to hit that up.
Right.
Which is tough because, I want to go see like Dragon's Lair and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see that. And, I was, a lot of times, like, I'll play people's games as like a courtesy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a custom game. And I'm like, yeah, I want to play this because maybe make them feel better or something. But it's never like great. With some examples of like Sky Cursor and like the.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a great game, yeah. But like played this game, is like this feels like legit. Like this feels like something that I've played before, and it's like highly addictive. And I looked at it and I go, it's Asteroids multiplayer.
Yeah,
this is awesome.
Battle Royale Asteroids.
Yep, and there was like a constant crowd around it. And me, you, and Logan, we hopped up on the controls with like some random people.
And Logan was always wanting to play it.
Yeah, he wanted to keep going back to it.
Well, let's go look around the rest of the expo, and he just kept wanting to come back to it.
He really did.
Yeah.
That and like the pinball games, like he was really into the pinball games too for some reason. But that was just a fun game, and it's interesting because Nick's only 8 years old. I mean, not Nick. Logan's only. You're young at heart, Nick. No, he's only 8, but he really like got into it. He was able to play it and pick it up easily.
Yeah.
So,
the simplicity of it. And
that's what I'm talking about. It's that old school, like simple to pick up and start playing. Mm-hmm. You're not going to master it right away, obviously.
Oh yeah. I mean,
but everybody was new to it. Like when you play an arcade and it's a new arcade and everybody's just sort of curious and drawn to it. And, everybody's skill level's kind of on the same.
And you could pick those different ships, and it was like so much harder to control.
There was a lot of layers to it that I really wasn't expecting. So, we did the expo, and I was like, I went home, and I had like that little quick video recording that I made of us playing, put it up on the channel, and I thought I really would love to like talk to these guys. I want to like pick their brain and see, how many people did it take to make this game? Is it a small group? They weren't there to represent the game, so. I just wanted to know more about it. Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, I reached out, and turns out it's 2 guys, and they're very nice, and they agreed to do an interview with us.
Sweet.
Yeah, so that's what we're here for. And I have them on the phone right now, and we're just going to, like Nathan, we did with Nathan, we're just going to get to know them a little bit.
So they've been listening to all this.
Yeah, they have been. Without further ado, please welcome Shane Gutbrod, a.k.a. Cosmo-Shane, and Dave Furr, a.k.a. Dave-o-Tron, owners of Arcadeaholics, LLC, and creators of Cosmotrons. Hey, guys, welcome to the show.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Hey, thanks for having us.
Oh, glad you're here.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for a lot for doing this with us. Starting with the company Arcadeaholics. Can you tell us like what's the origin of like how many there's 2 of you guys, right? Total?
You're looking at them.
You're looking at
team.
You're looking at the whole company.
What's the story of you guys? How did you guys get introduced? And where did the name Arcadeaholics come from?
First question, how did we like know each other kind of question?
How did you guys like meet up?
Yeah, for sure. So we shared common interest in cars and video games, of course, early on. So 16 years ago.
Yeah.
16 years ago. Dave and his buddies, they ran an automotive enthusiast site. And so we did some different car meetup kind of things. And then we realized too that we enjoyed video games a lot. So we did like, even back then, back in the day, like LAN parties and kind of stuff like that. But PC, we were big PC gamers at that point, but that's kind of how we originally became friends.
Yeah. High Rev, Wisconsin.
Yep.
Was the name of the club. Not that that matters, but it's
Let's give a shout out to those guys. So it was like a fan site. You guys just sort of, you're not, like familiar with each other from school or anything like that, work. It's just you guys met up on a fan site, and and you guys just discovered that you had shared a love of also video games. Yeah.
It was actually, I started the car club because I was really into cars, and a couple of buddies and me were like, people have car clubs, but like, let's make an online car club. We'll have a forum, and we'll organize meetups. And it was kind of a local car club, and we'd do that. We'd just get together and cruise around with a pack of 20 cars and drive around and
cookouts
sometimes in the park, stuff like that. And Shane was just one of the people that would, he showed up and kind of kept coming to different things and got more involved, I think, with the club and doing things. And here we are today.
So this was just like a message board?
Yeah, it was literally just, old school ASP.NET,
Oh, wow. I was thinking like, PHP-BB or something like that.
Yeah, it actually was in the time of that, for sure. That was kind of one of the options, right? PHP-BB was one of the options, and the one I had to pick was an ASP one, and I fired up the server at home and plugged it in, and, it was like this message board was running off the computer.
Did you create the message board yourself?
Yeah, I did I did all the technical work. I had a friend, his name was Scott. He did a lot of the kind of help me with the graphics and the design of the site.
Style sheets and all that.
Creative type.
Yeah. Oh, well, you got to have you got to have two sides who can do both things really well. You don't like two guys that can kind of do everything, but not very well. So, what about the name Arcadeaholics? Where did that come from?
Well, we've both been video gamers our whole lives, and the past maybe 6 years, I started collecting arcade machines. So in my living room, I have, like 15, 20 arcade machines in my house.
Wow.
So I started doing that. So like this idea of really liking arcade games. And it also got to the point where we just have less time to play games. Like we can't play as much PC gaming. So, but in terms of the PC gaming, like you play it, let's say a game for a half hour, and it gives you a thrill. Like you don't have the time to devote to that. But in some of these arcade type games, you play it for 5 minutes, you can kind of get that same thrill. And the idea too that to have the skill, like the PC gaming high-end skill, but there's also some arcade games where you need a high-end skill. So it's kind of like the idea of, man, we really like games, like a 5-minute long game that you feel the thrill. It's very high skilled. So it's kind of like the idea of like Arcadeaholics. We love arcade games, addicted to them, whatever. And then the idea of us releasing our game as an arcade product, of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, the name Arcadeaholics just sort of kind of speaks for itself, but, it's interesting to hear the story, like that you collected arcade cabinets and were actually kind of addicted to it, really. It sounds like 15 to 20. I mean, you could have started your own barcade and then put your game in there. And
It's funny because it seems like you're talking about like that's in the past.
Right.
Oh, so it's still going, huh? You haven't checked yourself in. There's not like steps or anything.
I'm not as bad as a lot of my friends, that's for sure.
Yeah.
My collection has definitely dwindled. It's on the lower end now. It's manageable.
This is true, but he's still got a lot of machines.
So an interesting point is that the start of our game, Cosmotrons, one of the reasons why we started this game is because I wanted it in my own house, like as a game for my friends and I to play in my own house, a thing that we made among my collection.
Right, that was kind of the floor, if you will, of where we thought this would go. Was it will make this game, and in worst case scenario, it'll end up as a showpiece in Shane's house so we can play with our friends, and nobody else will see it. And
here's the funny thing about this: over 2 years later, I don't have one in my house yet.
Is it? Well, they're really high quality, man. So like, I imagine you gotta like save up to like afford your own arcade because they are so nice.
Everyone that we're making is accounted for. It's sold. So everyone that's being made it's going out. So I'd rather have our clients have arcade machines than me have one at my house.
Of course, yeah. Well, one day when you have your own island or whatever, and you're just like sipping back, and you can have one then, I suppose, next to the pool.
Yeah, we can maybe afford an island off of like Antarctica or something.
Yeah, right now. So Is Arcadeaholics LLC like your full-time job then, or do you guys have like day jobs?
So it's a full-time job in terms of the time and mental time we put towards it, but it's not our full-time jobs.
Yeah,
Right,
I understand exactly what you mean. We get it. So what do you guys do then for your day jobs? Like, not necessarily saying exactly where you work, but what line of work are you guys in?
So I am a project architect. I'm actually a consultant in the technology field. So I kind of started out as a software developer, web developer, what you will. And now I'm still doing a lot of that, but more on the project, side, kind of helping lead teams of people working on projects, mostly in the Java space.
When you were doing websites, do you find building arcades and selling it to clients who own bars more or less demanding than people who want to have a website built for them?
I would say less.
I thought so.
It's actually easier to sell these arcade machines.
Yes.
Making websites is super demanding, and you never give people what they asked for.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like you give them you give them exactly what they asked for, but they didn't ask for it right. So what they actually wanted was over here, right, is what I find. And that applies whether you're making a website and you're working on the visual design or you're working on a back-end system. It never works the way they wanted it to. But it always, you make it the way they asked for it. But it's
Dude,
never...
that is so true. It's like, you know what? How many times are you going to give this back to me? Like, you guys are going to have to sign off on this eventually.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I mean, don't get me wrong, we've gotten a lot of great feedback from people, you know, as far as people that own our game, that have played our game, and we've incorporated a lot of that, and that's super duper helpful. But I don't get people telling me I don't like this, take it back, fix it. So
I believe it. It's really addictive, and that's a testament to you both. You were able to make such an addictive game that just feels right at home in an arcade, which is what all the good barcades should be like, I guess. Mm-hmm. What about you, Shane?
So I'm actually a middle school teacher.
Yes. Good for you, man.
I teach like STEM or design type classes or engineering, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Variety of different classes from almost like product design to I teach game design, film.
What level did you say this was at?
Middle school. So
middle
6, 7,
school. Very cool.
Wow.
Can you imagine Nick being in like a video game design class in middle school?
We didn't have that.
No, not at all.
His kids are spoiled. I mean, what was that last year or the year before? 2 years ago now. He had all of his students, including their parents, invited him over to his house to play arcade games and Cosmotrons. And,
oh, wow.
I mean, like, there were, and specifically Shane had asked myself and some of his other friends that work in the industry to kind of come there so that the teachers could talk to people that work there. The kids could kind of pick their brain. It was almost like almost like a career fair, like a socialized career fair. Yeah, it was, Shane's done really cool stuff like that too to help these kids out. And that's the thing I would always tell these kids when they ask questions. I was like, man, you guys are getting the opportunity to explore all these different things, all these different areas that I didn't have any opportunity to do that. So just how cool is that to be able to kind of get a much better idea from such an early on period in your life where you can kind of figure out where you want to go and what you actually like, what you're passionate about. Yeah. So super cool.
That's where I always tell them, because I really, it's funny that I became a teacher because I really just like school, especially middle school. and I tell the kids, I'm like, man, like if I would have had classes like you guys have now and the learning style that you guys have now, because it's pretty personalized. I'm like, you guys got it good. You guys are spoiled.
They are. Absolutely.
I guess that's just how generational, that's just how it's looked upon, from one generation to the next.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you guys had electricity, like we had to learn by lamp fire, that kind of thing. But no, that's absolutely very cool. My wife is a teacher, so
okay, nice.
I can definitely appreciate all the struggles that you may or may not go through in middle school. I don't really have any. Your mom was a middle school teacher. So.
My mom just recently retired. She was a middle school teacher.
Okay,
but God bless you, dude. Keep up the good work. I want to get to the actual game, Cosmotrons. Can you, if you wouldn't mind, just describe the game like to people watching or listening who have just no idea what we're talking about? Basically, what is the game?
Yeah, for sure. So Cosmotrons is a gravity-based space battle multiplayer. We just call it gravity-based multiplayer mayhem. And picture you got 4 people, 4 pilots. What you're trying to do is you're trying to win a territory. So there's all these different maps. We got over 20 different maps in the game, and some of them dynamic, interactive. And you're flying out in the galaxy. You're choosing which country you want to fly for. You're choosing which ship do you want to use. What's your charge shot? So you're kind of setting up your ship on how you want for battle. And then you're going out there and you're trying to destroy the other people that are also trying to get that territory. So it's like you're fighting for this country, trying to gain these resources. And then in addition to that, we have a team mode, so you can team up and do that. And there's also be the boss mode. So you can like have 3 people team up against a big ship. So there's, more than just what was explained there. And then what else you want to add that I missed there, Dave?
Maybe did you say that it's kind of vector-based graphics? Oh, yeah. So just kind of that feel of the vector-based. A lot of people are drawn to it just on that alone. They see it and they go, "Oh, I got to play this!" Right? It kind of looks a lot like a colored version of Asteroids, or maybe Gravatar, or Space Wars, or all these games I've heard all these different people talk about. And there are certainly a lot of them that we drew inspirations from.
Oh gosh, you know what? It does resemble Gravatar a little bit. now that you mention it, that's cool.
Yeah. So just from a visual standpoint, right, you get the idea of what it's about from what Shane said, but from a visual standpoint, the kind of color graphics, the vector stuff. So yeah.
I really liked the complexities of the game, because it does on the surface look like just multiplayer Asteroids. But, the next thing you know, you're slamming into these mazes, these caverns and corridors. And the next thing you know, like, you're flying under a cloud and then a lightning bolt blows you up.
Well, and it's like,
so cruel.
We would start getting the hang of flying around and shooting people and stuff. And then we realized you run out of fuel.
Oh my God. The first time I started dropping it. Why did you make it so that you just keep losing lives?
Reason why. So that's the purpose. Yes, that can be frustrating, right?
Yes, it
You're
can.
falling. It's like there's nothing I can do, but there is something you can do. Because you can still aim and shoot. So you could still theoretically win if somebody else has 1 life, but you're falling to your death. You can still shoot that person and still win. We've had people win that way.
Nice. I also like, too, that you can have, like, the jerk mode is what I was calling it, where you're still, like, kind of on the outskirts, still trying to shoot the people that are still in the game.
Yeah, when you're the human.
Yeah, like the little men are down on the ground and they could shoot.
I love the, so, yeah, like I said, complexities. And then you start learning, like, oh, I got to start accounting for fuel. And then, you got the different, fuel tanks here and there, and then you gotta be careful not to slam into the wall. But then you also got 2 guys trying to shoot you down while you're trying to dock in to get your fuel.
I was like letting you all like battle each other, and I'm like, I'm going for the fuel. You all do your thing.
Yep.
But then I also loved it when we started flying, and I learned you could kind of go through on the other side of the screen. I was like, what is this?
The screen wrap.
It's like Pac-Man. The screen wrap was awesome. It was another great touch. So, and I loved the little bonus races, which what kind of cool, you would cool off a bit. Like, you're not shooting your opponent anymore. Now you're just trying to get to the finish line. And one time I almost did it, but like right as I got to the finish line, right at the finish line, though, like, the thing came down and crashed me.
Yeah, stalactite fell on him.
Nice.
Oh my God! But it was great. I didn't even care. It was so great because I just wasn't expecting it to happen.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we wanted to try to design the game to be like the most fun you can have dying.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, yeah, because you just want to get right back in it.
Yeah. And
we did, man. Like if we were paying money to play it, I'd have my roll of quarters out for sure.
Nice.
Well, like when you're talking about like the depth, I mean that was a big thing that when we went into this, because a lot of arcade games, and this is my frustration, a lot of arcade games, especially newer ones, too easy. No depth, not much replayability. You play it once, why do you need to play it again? It's just like this flashy entertainment piece, not necessarily a game that has game design. So that was big for us, is we wanted there to be a lot of player choice. We wanted there to be a lot of risk versus reward, tons of replayability. And like when you're talking about the depth and you think about strategy, you're talking about, okay, what's my strategy? Oh, I could fly around, I could grab fuel. Mm-hmm. I could fly around, I could try and shoot people. I could maybe kind of camp in the corner. like there's all these different strategies which will change multiple ways throughout the level based on your fuel, what ship you're using, who you're playing, if a human has a gun or not.
The level design.
The level too.
Right, depending on...
Raise your hand. You're who's responsible for the level design?
Yeah.
Would that be you? Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Very well done, sir.
It's just interesting because depending on what ship you have, especially the difference between the normal ships and like the squid that shoots down, depending on the level design, you can really kind of take advantage of certain things and, defend certain areas where it makes it a really bad decision to come after you. Mm-hmm. And you can really put yourself at a big advantage. But one of my biggest things, Shane talked about all that, one of the big things for me is I really like this idea of like as low of a ceiling skill-wise as possible, right? Like you guys talk about, you jumped in and right away you're having fun.
Yeah, even my little kid would just jump right in.
Mm-hmm.
But then to have like a very high ceiling of skill where there's a lot of room to continue to get better and learn different strategies and kind of evolve as you become more familiar with all these different things and components of the game. And that to me, that's where the real depth is. As well as all the different ship types, which just kind of add to that, right? It takes you a while to learn all those things.
I do like that there's like easy, normal, pro, like very cool, very, very nice. And I saw the pro, I was like, oh, that looks kind of like the Millennium Falcon a little bit. I want to play with that. I couldn't control it. Once I started moving, I was like, how am I supposed to control this thing? It looked cool, but like I was just dying left and right. Yeah, I know what you guys mean about arcades. Like they're usually just sold on a gimmick, but this one feels almost like, like a console game. Like there's just a lot of depth to it and complexity. And, you can pick the nation you want to, like that's such a little thing. But, I noticed people like gravitating towards the same countries every time. Like they wanted to keep picking that country.
That's exactly what I wanted them to do is, identify which country do you want to fly for,
And the skill level, the high end skill level, you guys are hosting tournaments, right? Or not hosting, but, your game is featured in tournaments, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Didn't you are you in the middle of a tournament right now?
Yeah. We're in the middle of what we call Cosmo-Olympics.
Love the days.
So we are running this set of tournaments. Actually, they're kind of pre-qualifiers leading up to the Cosmo-Olympics, really. So a number of arcades here in Wisconsin are doing the tournaments, and then winners from those tournaments are being given entry to our local arcade convention, which is called Midwest Gaming Classic. That's coming up here in April, I think, the 13th, 14th, 15th, something like that. And then there they will meet for the final rounds of the Cosmo-Olympics to see who is the best pilot in the Wisconsin region. So,
is there like a medal or a trophy that's being played for?
Oh yeah. There's we have fluorescent green. If you go on our Facebook, you'll see pictures of it. But these fluorescent green medals, that say like Cosmo-Olympics and have symbols on them and stuff like that. But
you guys are really creative. I appreciate that.
Now
I was on your Facebook. I think is where I saw it. And one thing that I saw on there was this really cool thing you guys did, where it was like you were providing little blank sheets of paper. And you were encouraging people to draw their levels, and you guys would pick a level, like whichever you guys thought would be the best, most interesting level. You were going to implement it into the game. That's awesome. So can you talk to that a little bit more?
Yeah, we did that at the Midwest Gaming Classic 2018, and so people could come up to our booth, hang out, play the game, provided them markers, stuff like that. They draw out their level design and so on, and then. What Dave and I did is after the show, we sat down and we went through every single one. We discussed them, what was good, what was not so good with some of them, those types of things. And then we narrowed it down to 2. And then we had a vote on our Facebook page. We put it out to the people, which 2. So Dave had one that he was arguing for, and I had one that I was arguing for. And the one that won was called Divide and Conquer. And so we like puns. For our map names, puns are good.
Puns are great.
And it was a map that had a divider in the middle, and one side had like lightning and storm, and the other side was like a cave with falling stalactites and stuff like that. So the kind of idea, like you can fly, but you can also fly through the middle where there's electricity. So that's the one that
I think we did. Yeah,
we played
would that level have been in the build that we played?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we did play that, and that was very cool because like we were like, ooh, do we want to cross over? Like, what's going to happen right in the middle?
Tried to cross there and it went. Bzz.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's like a great
section,
way to get your fans involved, man. Well done.
Yeah, that was a really fun. That was a really fun thing. I mean, it was quite a bit of work to go through all the submissions.
Yeah.
But I guess that's
how many did you get? Do you remember?
It's like 50.
Yeah.
Like 50.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Now we only just saw the game, just this past month at the Louisville Arcade Expo. But how long has the game been out?
Good question.
So in terms of actually been out in public as an arcade product since end of May 2018.
Yeah.
So I guess wow, I didn't think about that. We're coming pretty close up on a year.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we first started anything with it October 2016 is when we made our first software prototype.
Okay, cool.
That's not a bad turnaround time at all. That's pretty good.
Yeah. And then it was April 2017 at Midwest Gaming Classic was the first time that
we showed it to the public.
Really played in public. I mean, we had friends and family and, some of Shane's students from school play it before that to help us test it out.
Right.
Yep. See if you got something here or not. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was a big part of it is kind of iterating. We started with a really simple product, really, really simple game to see that the mechanics that we thought were cool were going to work,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of decided from there and just kept, I don't know, almost agile type process, just iterating, kind of slowly making changes and seeing, yep, this is good. Nope, that wasn't good. Get it out of there.
Yeah.
This is good. That kind of thing, and just continually playing and a lot of play testing and a lot of input from people.
It shows. It's really tight. Yeah. It's good. Is Cosmotrons your first game?
Yeah.
It's the first video game that either of us have ever made.
Yep.
Wow.
Nice.
And what was it built in, if you don't mind me asking?
It's built in Game Maker.
Oh.
All right. Nice.
That's what we started building our game in.
Yeah.
I totally expected you to say Unity.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. We wanted to be different.
Nice. Buck the system.
No, in all reality, it was Shane had started the real early prototype with doing like drag and drop in Game Maker Studio.
It wasn't drag and drop.
It was a little bit of that, a little bit of code.
No drag and drop. No drag and drop.
Don't you insult me.
I was kind of the same way. I was like all about the GML, like learning that code.
It was all
one level above drag and drop.
all the graphics are like they came with the system, the program.
So it was really, quite honestly, it was one of those things where Shane had already had something started, and it was like, well, let's just take it from here and go. So I don't know how you picked Game Maker.
Because of drag and drop.
It seems accessible, right? Like if you're
there's a lot of tutorials. Like it was easier to get in quicker in terms of to make the prototype quicker and to play around with it and so on. So,
yeah, and I mean there's just a ton of videos and websites and content for getting started in that, and tons of like beginner tutorials and all that stuff. So I don't want to give away one of your questions, but I think that's one of those things that, it's a great way to start.
Yeah, it was the same way for us because, none of us were coders. So,
yeah.
I'm not even sure who found out about Game Maker, but one of us, found out about it and just jumped in with that.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe he'll be getting in touch with you guys if he ever wants to get back into it. That has any questions. You guys clearly got it figured out. So Cosmotrons, is there like a database or anything available for like a website that would show people or fans who like want to play this game where they're located, similar to like how Killer Queen Arcade has?
There sure is.
Oh,
you can actually go to our website, cosmotronsgame.com. Okay. And there's a link at the top. I believe it says map. And there is an interactive Google map that we do our best to keep updated with where the current arcades are.
And how many would you say there are right now in the wild?
It's like close to 20. I don't know. It's like 20 or something like that right now. So there's a whole bunch more coming out soon. So the map is The map's not up to date right now. We're gonna have to keep updating it because we got a lot of cabinets going out.
Yep. Yeah, so I said, we're doing our best to keep it updated, but it's starting to get a little hot and heavy here. So it's a good thing it's a good problem to have.
You might need a third person to start keeping up with all that stuff.
Right. And it does become a little bit like, we just want to make sure that if you see a machine on there, that it's actually where it says it is, because that would really stink. Go somewhere to play a machine and it's not there.
And the one thing that's kind of neat about the map is the map shows which cabinet type is at that location, because we have the two different cabinet styles. We have the Woody style, which is what you guys played on, and then we also have the Deluxe-o-Tron, which is our more deluxe, higher-end cabinet. So the map shows where what's at that location.
Now, is there an enhancement to, like, there wouldn't be more players? Like, is there any difference in the game itself?
Nope.
Yeah, so the software is the same.
Okay.
Software is exactly the same. It's just a different style. There's maybe some more, like, fancy features on the Deluxe-o-Tron, and it's a little more. It's actually made out of fiberglass, the whole shell. The control panel is stainless steel. The newer versions have cutouts of all the kind of labeling in our Cosmotrons logo, and then they're lit from the underside so you can see them in a darker arcade or bar.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Nice touch.
It looks really cool. Yeah. I haven't actually got to see it in person yet, but I've seen some. If you go to
trust us, it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, he has. It's actually going to be kind of cool. I mean, for me, I haven't seen the wood machine in person yet.
Yeah.
So MGC, I'll be seeing our latest fiberglass version and and the wood machine for the first time.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Other people are seeing it before me.
Okay, so this is going to lead to a question that, I'm probably going to be disappointed in the answer, but maybe I won't. Is it possible, because Nick and I over here, we're like console gamers. I'll game a little bit on Steam, but I'm primarily console. Is there a chance we'll see this on your PlayStations, your Xbox, your Switch, even Steam? I'll even accept Steam.
So at some point, we do want to do a home release at some point. And it's funny that you earlier said it feels like it has the depth of a console game. Because when we originally designed it, yes, we designed it to be in my house. But then once we were like, okay, maybe we could release this to the public, make a business out of this. Then it was like, okay, we'll release it for console. So then we were developing for console for about 3 months.
At least.
and then we showed it to the public, and the public was like, oh, we want this arcade product. We had a lot of different arcades. How much does that cost? We want one for our arcade. Because we showed it, our Deluxe-o-Tron cabinet. Yeah. That's when we showed it at MGC, we showed it in that cabinet. And so a lot of people thought it was an arcade product. Where that partly was our marketing piece, even though it is now our cabinet. But anyway, so back to your question. At some point, yes, we want to do a home release. When will that be? I don't know. It will be arcade exclusive for a significant amount of more time. Right. A big part of that reason why is to, of course, respect our clients that are buying these cabinets and keep it exclusive for them. Another big part is we have one programmer. So
I guess it would be unfair because consoles kind of did drive arcades out of business to begin with. So what you're saying is like 2020, 2021 maybe. Look for it.
You're going to put a date on it.
Okay. Fair enough, guys. That's kind of what the answer I expected to get. But I think it will do gangbusters on like consoles if it ever were to, especially on something like a Switch that's just multiplayer friendly anyway to begin with.
Yeah, so. I think the Switch is definitely a very good platform, and I mean, yeah, like I said, we'd really like to, but there is some amount of wanting to respect the clientele that are buying our machines now.
I didn't think of that. That's a great point. So I was just selfishly wanting one for the console. So another question that I had was, and this I'm looking forward to this answer. So I have an 8-year-old who's very interested in video games and how video games are made. What advice would you give him as far as like what would he need to do? Like what kind of things does he need to study? Where's a good starting spot if he wanted to get into making games?
My biggest advice for anybody, no matter their age, they want to get into game design, is to just make something, get started on something, actually try making something, whatever language, whatever your programming skills, wherever they're at, just make something. And a big thing about game design is a lot of people, they want to get in, they want to start making games. So they'll go make something, but they don't understand what is fun. They've played games, of course, but like read a book about game design, read something about game design. There is a theory to game design. What makes games fun? Like you're designing it for the player. It's not for you. So, and then now in terms of like, for your example, your son that's 8 years old, Scratch. I highly recommend. Are you familiar with Scratch by MIT?
No.
Okay.
No. Can you tell us a little
bit about that? Scratch is awesome. We've done it in my school with the students do it. It's free. You just Google search Scratch, and you can make games on Scratch. You can play games that other people made on Scratch. You can modify the games that other people have made on Scratch. And I think it's only drag and drop, but you're still typing in variables. You're still doing a lot of other type stuff. But that's awesome to start understanding the organization of a program. What's a sprite? How do these things interact? And just the rules and calling out, I don't know, just variables and that kind of stuff. But then I think once somebody is pretty good at Scratch type stuff, then I think then they should move into considering like Game Maker or Unity type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I said it before, and I said I was kind of giving away your question, right? Maker's a really good starting point because there's a ton of videos, and you can. I think a good place to start would even be to, Game Maker themselves have all these official tutorials that are, make an Asteroids game. Follow the tutorial and then be like, okay, but now I want Asteroids with burning trash cans that I shoot or something. I don't know, change it.
Right.
One of the other
hack the game, right?
Yeah, like hack it, change it the way that you want it. One of the other things that I read this book and I forget what the book was called, but I'm going to turn the concept into something PC, but they basically talk about crappy first drafts. And the idea is that basically anytime you're stuck with a large task, and making a game's a large task, you procrastinate and you don't get started because you feel like you need to have something worth making or whatever. You need this perfect idea. Mm-hmm. So the idea is like just literally start doing anything.
Yeah. Make
a crappy first draft. Don't show anybody if you don't want to. It's okay. Just start with something. And all of a sudden you kind of start going, oh, right. And your idea starts to shape in your head just because you started that crappy first draft. And I think that applies to more than making games, right? It applies to writing a blog article or making a YouTube video. Sometimes you just have to start the process.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they talked about in there was that, sometimes you need that motivation, and you're always looking for motivation, and you think that you're looking for what sparks that, right? And sometimes that crappy first draft can spark the motivation that gets you where you need to go.
Yeah,
so
that's good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a content creator, certainly not the type of content that you're creating, but I can definitely relate to that because like I had no idea anything about cameras or sound and engineering or anything like that. But I was like, hey Nick, you want to do a podcast?
And I was like, are you serious?
But thankfully he was like, yeah, you go, I'll do it with you. And we've had a great time and just had fun with it. And hopefully if you're lucky like you guys, people are going to buy into it and it'll just get, be a runaway success. So I spoke to my 8-year-old son. Now I'm going to speak to like Nick and I. I know Game Maker, you're saying like you're advocating for Game Maker. It's a pretty good piece of software to make a game in. Would you, knowing what you know now about Game Maker, would you still go with Game Maker first, or would you invest in something more like Unity?
We've actually talked about that quite a bit.
I know it's kind of a hard question.
It is a hard question, and actually, and maybe this is influenced a little bit by, maybe I'm biased because of the things that have been happening recently to me, but one of the things we considered is I talked to other people, and you're right, a lot of people are like, I'm using Unity, right? And I go, okay, well, what's the catch? What are the everybody talks about what's great. What are the downfalls?
Yeah.
And one of the things I hear from people is that they run into issues where a new version of Unity comes out, and all of a sudden the gravity's being calculated completely differently, and their whole game works differently now. And it's like, because I mean, especially like that hits me straight to the heart almost, because our game is based on gravity.
Yeah.
If big gravity works changes, all of a sudden our game is thrown completely off balance. So those kind of things are scary to me.
Very scary.
And,
I
and
guess
I
that
hear
would be
that
true.
I hear that sometimes that happens in Unity. Now, on the flip side, I will say we've been having issues with Game Maker, and we've had a release that we've been wanting to push out, and
for like 2 months. It's been ready.
it's been a
I
while.
think it's been ready for almost 2 months.
And unfortunately, there's issues with the Linux builds in Game Maker right now, and haven't been able to get around that. So,
And that's happened twice.
and this is the second time that I haven't been able to push a release
So-
because there's
From a business perspective, it's very, very frustrating. Now, Game Maker, yes, I mean, there's many great things about the product, but as a business, it hurts our clients in terms of if they're losing coin drop based on something that we need to fix, but we can't fix out because the Linux build doesn't work because it's something that, Game Maker, let's say.
yeah, the new runtime has got a bug.
So
It's usually what it is.
Now, would you
So-
guys push an update over the internet to these operators if you have a new update? Is that how that would
Yep.
work?
That's how it works. Yep.
Gotcha.
So each machine has a Wi-Fi adapter in it, and then they hook the machine up to the internet. And then Dave, of course, this is a lot of the coding that he had to do. Is so when he does his do kind of stuff, it sends the update.
That's what I say when I do it.
Yep. It sends the update to the machine. When the machine restarts, it automatically pulls it.
Mm-hmm.
Made me think of Pee Wee Herman.
Actually, do it.
Oh yeah, the what was his name? The wizard?
Yeah, I'm gonna do.
No, that was Bozo, right?
Not-
Bozo from the Bozo Show. The doody.
Oh, what? Oh, maybe it was.
I don't know. Sorry, we got off on a tangent. Yeah, I imagine when you're making that update available, you probably would be a little tight, like before you
Little bit.
give it that green light.
Yeah, so far we've had really good success. I mean, there's really been no issues with updates like not working or major issues. We've had a couple of little bugs here or there that we've fixed, but most of it has been new content. Just balances to the game, Divide and Conquer coming out. That was through a content push. So we've done. I don't know exactly how many, but we've done a number of updates since May or whatever that was when the first arcade hit the floor.
Well, thanks for answering that for me. I didn't want to be too pervasive, get behind too much the curtain, asking that question, but I'm just curious. As like somebody who could potentially maybe get back into the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a selling point, right?
Yeah,
to both operators and the people that are playing it. You guys know that, we're going to continue to make small fixes, add maybe some features here or there. I don't know exactly what the future is for what we all push in updates, but, we have been actively continuing to develop the game. It's not like we, made the game and just stopped working on it as soon as it was selling, right? We want to keep supporting the game. And
Well, it's like a platform almost. Like, think about Minecraft. They just keep selling that game. They add little like features here and there, like little packs, little outfits and stuff. Yeah. You guys can just add new ships, new levels. You can just keep selling this game, or just updates to this game, and keep pushing the same game. It's a great idea.
It just keeps evolving.
Yeah, I like that a lot. You don't have to like just have a sell all your copies of a game in like a year, and then you're like, okay, now that 4-year gaming cycle is over. Now we got to think about the new thing. You guys can, you have a successful thing. Like, just keep iterating on top of what you already have. So
yeah, and I mean, some of it too is, there's not a lot of other people doing this, right? You guys mentioned Killer Queen. You guys mentioned Sky Cruiser. There's some other guys like Galactic Battleground and some other folks. But there's not a lot of stuff to look at in the modern age to model what we needed to do. So there's lessons we've learned from games being out there and operators going, hey, this would be a cool feature. Could you add that? And we go, yeah, of course we could. Mm-hmm. And we've pushed updates for operator, settings that maybe you guys wouldn't see as a consumer necessarily, but, things that operators go, hey, if this feature was in here, it'd be really cool. It'd help us push the game more, different settings, stuff like that. So
have any other developers reached out to you guys and just kind of like give you the thumbs up, like kudos, guys? Like this, you guys are really onto something. Or have you reached out to other, developers like the people who made, Killer Queen, since you're in the same hemisphere as far as like, being in a barcade? Have you Has anything like that happened?
Well, one thing that's kind of cool is like a lot of these different shows that we go to, like different arcade shows, a lot of times that we'll cross paths or be at the same show. And it's I don't want to say like tight knit group or something like that, but we're all kind of like buds in terms of we'll share ideas, thoughts, things that we've learned, and or hang out at like, for example, hung out with some of the guys at like a bar. Hung out at a bar after a show or something like that, hanging out. And one of the guys he was in for MGC. I had him. He stayed at my house for one of the nights.
Cool.
So I've done stuff like that.
Have you? They say you never should meet your heroes, but have you guys? Now that you have this successful game, it's getting more successful. Have you been able to meet any of your heroes due to the success of this game? Getting out there with your, all the different shows that you've gone to.
Yeah, we've met a lot. You ready for the list?
I would love to hear some of the people. Yeah.
Jeff Lee, he was involved with Qbert.
Nice.
So we got to meet with him and hang out with him multiple times. Very nice guy. He's in the Chicago area. Brian Colin, he created Rampage, General Chaos, Arch Rivals, all those games, which Dave and I played the crap out of back in the day. I know Dave was a big General Chaos guy. I loved Rampage. Eugene Jarvis, he's the owner of Raw Thrills, which is like one of the bigger arcade companies right now. But he made Robotron and Defender, Smash TV, Cruising USA. He was involved in.
Love Smash TV.
So I mean, I'm trying to Space Duel.
We talked with Owen Rubin.
Owen Rubin made Space Duel and Major Havoc.
Yeah, that was cool. Like we were at a show, and he literally was like, we're talking to him about stuff, and we're just talking shop. It was really a chill conversation, and we got to talking about something, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, come here, I'll show you, and he takes us over to that Major Havoc machine at the show, and he's like playing through the game, and he's showing us like, yeah, see how when we designed this in here, like this is the idle animation, but the idle animation changes depending on this and that. He's like showing us all these little things that I would have never known necessarily. I mean, the game is fun and all, but I didn't know all these little tiny details.
Yeah.
And, just talking about like things that they went through in the development process, and it was much different back then, right? You had these limitations you worked around, and
major limitations.
Yeah, and then you get down to the end, and you went, hey, we got a little bit of space left. What can we throw in?
Isn't that amazing?
Everything left, might as well
and they
utilize.
Squeezed every last
and they did.
bit.
Oh yeah,
they squeezed every last bit out of that hardware that they could, and it was really cool. That was a cool one. There was actually a whole group of guys from Atari that we met.
Yeah, there's more, definitely more.
That day, there was like 3 or 4 of them that Owen was kind of, he had a kind of crew with him.
So I mean, like just try and picture that. We're Atari fans, and I collect Atari machines in my house.
Nice.
And there's inspirations like the color vector thing, obviously, and like so this gentleman that worked back in Atari at their heyday comes up and is admiring and appreciating our product and really giving us a lot of compliments. That
dude, I would have cried.
It felt very special.
Yeah.
And then, for example, with Brian Colin, he came out and drove to an event just to meet us and give us some feedback on our game. This was pretty early on. So we have things in our game that's been inspired due to his game design. For example, the Noob's Shield. So the ship, that noob ship, when you're flying around, has the green box around it.
I need that, yeah.
So his idea was that the shield should regenerate. We used to have it where it just disappears.
You got one per life.
Comes back. A big thing that he suggested too, which I love, the map voting, is he said, let the player choose where they want to play instead of forcing them, let's say, into a harder map. And then they're frustrated that they're dying on this harder map. But if they choose the harder map and they're dying and crashing on it, it's on them. It's their choice.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think to bring that up. Yeah, you could actually vote, like, which map you wanted to play on. So that was another nice touch.
Yeah, that was fun.
That had to just make you guys, like, it had to affirm everything that you guys were, like, if you had any doubts, they're just washed away after something like that happening.
I mean, I don't know if they ever wash away completely. I guess you always kind of wonder what the reception is going to be or what the success will eventually be.
Yeah.
But it definitely, I mean, hearing from people like that to have the nice things they had to say, to come out to an event. Like Shane said, I mean, he legitimately came to this event, this convention, talked with us, recorded an interview, and left. And that was it. Like, he came there specifically to see us, and then that was it. He left.
Very cool.
I was like,
cool.
and he signed your arcade machine.
I had a short story here. I bought a Rampage arcade machine just for this event because I knew that he was coming out. So we trailered out my our Cosmotrons machine, and then I trailered out the Rampage machine. So at the end of him kind of hanging out and talking with us, I said, "Hey Brian, there's one more thing I need you to do." So then we went out and opened up the trailer, and he sees it's like beautiful condition Rampage machine,
perfect condition,
and that was cool. He
was floored. He was like, look at this thing."
Where did you find this? Yeah. Build this.
It's been awesome. I mean, like you say, we've met a lot of cool people, so that has been a lot of fun.
I wonder too if there's been enough distance between their heyday and now. Retro is such a huge thing nowadays, and there's an appreciation for what they do, that aesthetic. And maybe they just enjoy the attention again, Maybe they've just been irrelevant for years, and now, there's this new generation coming through, and they're like really appreciating like all of their, just what they did, just kind of taking like that style.
So much of what all those people designed, I mean, it's the core of what's out there for games now. A lot of those mechanics and the humor, the art, what works in an arcade setting, what is good game design. They were the pioneers of that industry. And I mean, the people that like us, our age, a little bit younger, a little bit older, that's their childhood. Those programmers, artists, game designers, they created a lot of our childhoods.
Okay, guys. One other little small question. I see you guys are wearing like cool Cosmotrons t-shirts. Do you have a place for merch? Because I can't afford a cabinet. I'm sorry. Even if I were to pull all my friends together and like try to get one, I could never buy a cabinet. But I wouldn't mind rocking like a shirt of yours. Sure.
So in terms of merch, I think the only thing right now that we actually sell would be shirts. Mm-hmm. So people can contact us directly through email if they want a shirt. And our email is gamers@arcadeaholics.com. But we do have some swag as well. And because you invited us to be on your show, we have a couple things for you. Let's show you a couple things here. Want to show those off?
Yeah, sure. So we've got here some, well, I guess you can use them for whatever you want, but they're fancy coasters.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool, yeah.
But they're actually acrylic, and they're etched, and this is the fighter ship.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay, and we've got a couple different ships we'll send you. I don't know, are we going to send them a whole set? We've got all the ships.
Nice,
the Beast.
Nice.
I think this one is the Recruit.
Oh, cool, man. I like that a lot. That'll look good. I'll keep it on the desk here for when we're recording shows.
Also going to send you, we have Cosmotrons trading cards.
Oh, my God.
Logan would love that.
That's too much.
Here's the noob ship. So, this is what you guys sound like we're flying. So you got the specs on there and stuff like that.
That's my ship, man.
We'll send you.
I'm taking that one all the way to the championship.
We'll send you 3 sets of these for you 2 guys and then your son.
And then very, very kind of you. Thank you.
Or some Cosmotron stickers wherever you would like to place them.
Sweet.
That's cool. Awesome. Okay, well, that pretty much wraps up those questions. Now, I do have a segment that I like to call Get to Know the Gamer. And, we've talked about some inspirations and games that you guys dig, but what I'd like to do is, and for each of you, I'd like to get both of your answers. I just have a few questions that I ask our interviewees. What was the first arcade cabinet you remember playing?
Yeah, so for me, I can remember. I can still picture it. Pole position, cockpit. So the sit-down one, I think I could just barely reach the pedals or something like that. And I've been interested in driving my entire life. Love cars. And I just remember sitting in that thing and the hard seat and the glowing, colors and just
that was a good one
over the place.
What about you, Dave?
I've been thinking about this question since you sent those, and I honestly, I don't know. I don't have as vivid of a memory of what the first one was. I want to say I think it was a Donkey Kong, because I have such burned into my brain memories of that game where I couldn't even beat the first level. I couldn't even barely get up.
It's hard, yeah.
It is hard.
Without dying, it's all the time. So I want to say it was Donkey Kong.
Now, speaking of pole position, do you guys remember that game Hard Driving or Race Driving?
So here's the funny story: is I just had 2 of those in my garage.
Are you serious? Race Driving was one of my favorite all-time games, and ever since I played that game, I knew for my whole life I'm gonna drive a manual transmission forever because I had so much fun playing that game.
Nice.
It is an excellent driving racing game. And then, are you familiar with like the PC knockoff versions? Like I think it's called Stunt Racer. So that's something that Dave and I. It's funny that we later talked about this, but there's a PC ripoff version of hard driving. It's called like Stunt Racer, and there's another one too. But you can actually like design your own track. Like, so this is like DOS, like early 90s.
Yeah.
It's a pretty advanced game.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah. It was, it was back in that era of computers when they still had a turbo button on them. And you could design like your own loops and, all that in your track and then go and race on it. Obviously it was,
I was probably trying to make do with the Genesis version, which was fine. Okay. Do you remember, or not you remember, what's your all-time favorite arcade? I know that's tricky.
My vintage, so I'll give you 2. My vintage one, I always kind of go back to Donkey Kong 3. It's kind of a weird, kind of a
3. Respect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's the best out of all 3 Donkey Kongs.
Ooh, controversial.
I really do. I won't go into depth in terms of why, but very good game. Love it. And I know it's kind of the bastard child of like, like the Donkey Kong series and Nintendo in general. But otherwise, like in terms of games that arcade games that really, really affected me, there's quite a few, but I would definitely say Street Fighter. And
the first one or
not the first one, not the first one at all, but Street Fighter 2.
Okay.
Then the Alpha series, Street Fighter versus X-Men. It's kind of that 92 to 96-ish. Those Street Fighters, definitely like Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Yeah, Street Fighter 2 was for sure an awakening for like that second wave that arcades desperately needed.
Yeah.
Right.
What about you, Dave? I'm sorry, you had another one.
No, I just want to point out that in Cosmotrons, there really is a good amount of influence from Street Fighter, just in terms of the feeling of it. And then the idea of all those ships kind of feel different. So, like, for example, there's a ship called the Fighter, and the Fighter is that kind of normal, average type ship. That's kind of like Ryu from Street Fighter.
Okay.
And then there's the Beast that you said you had a hard time handling, kind of big, thicker.
Yeah.
Like Zangief.
Yeah, and then you got the different nationalities. Japan. That's interesting. That's a cool pull.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so for me,
Cosmotrons.
Cosmotrons, obviously everybody's favorite.
I don't know, it's sort of cliche, but what I'm drawn to and I just can't stop playing is Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man. I really enjoy them. I don't know what it is. Like I said, it's super cliche because it's the obvious choice, but I like it. It's a
cliche for a reason, right?
Yeah. As far as a couple other games, I echo what Shane said. Street Fighter was obviously a huge influence on me. I played it a lot. I was never good at it, but I played a lot. And actually lately, there's a lot of games that I was exposed to just from Shane having his collection, and he's a pretty good, he makes good choices. So there's some games like Rescue
that's a good one.
that I don't know that I had ever played before, but I find that game really fun. And again, it goes back. I like these games where there's like, a high skill level, and the way that I play the game matters, right? It's not like random chance or like things like that. Like I'm not real big into games where they're meant to just take your money.
Yeah,
right?
just quarter munching.
I want to be able to actually feel like I'm good at the game and what I'm doing is making a difference.
That was like a big deal with Street Fighter because if you had the skill level and there was like a constant group of people, you could just keep playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could keep going. I was never that guy, but you could.
We were okay, but okay. Next question for you guys. What was your first home gaming console? I know you guys were like primarily PC gamers, so maybe this isn't gonna, necessarily.
Actually, so for me, when I was younger, I had all the consoles really, probably much after they first came out, but I had home consoles, I guess, all the way really back to Commodore 64. I had one of those. And from there I went, I had an NES. And then at some point I had a Super Nintendo, a Sega, a PlayStation, all the way up from there. I think I skipped a few. Like I didn't have a GameCube. I didn't have an N64. Although I would rent the N64 from the local video game place with GoldenEye.
When that was a thing, yeah.
Take one of those home for the weekend or whatever. So yeah, probably the first, I guess, really was NES.
Okay.
First home console for me, beautiful wood-grained Atari 2600.
Yes, give it to me, yes. I love that 70s wood grain.
Oh, yeah.
Just ubiquitous with everybody's basement. Like, just blended right in. I only wish they had shag carpet controllers.
We played it on one of those wood cabinet TVs, too, of course. And Asteroids, man. It's funny because Asteroids is one of the first games I remember playing. But then the NES, like the NES, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Was big, too, for me.
Do you have a favorite home console and game for that console?
So for me, I'm going to modify that a little bit and say PC is when I've always played lots of video games since I was young. I always played lots of video games, but once I got to PC in the kind of like mid-late 90s, a little bit more, that's when I really got into it more than I should have. Return to Castle Wolfenstein from 2002.
Oh, yes.
Multiplayer on that.
That is a PC game that I played, actually.
I feel like there's, man, when new games come out, I'm like, but it just doesn't feel like this, like the different classes. And then Dave and I, Battlefield 2 is another one. Mm-hmm. So I personally didn't care for too many of the ones that came after, but there's just something about those two games, the class-based, team-based, like you need a team. It's like required. You have to have teamwork. Those two games are huge for me. But then in terms of console, Super Nintendo and NES were huge for me, and then Mega Man definitely was really big, huge Mega Man fan. Mario 3.
Yeah, Mario 3, huge. Yeah. What about you, Dave?
So I struggled. My initial answer, I'll tell you, was Super Nintendo. I just think there were so many amazing games for that. I was a huge Super Metroid fan. Huge. I loved Zelda, Link to the Past, Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, all these games on Super Nintendo. But then when I really started thinking about it more, I think I really had to go with the first PlayStation. And I think that maybe part of that was the time in my life that I really started spending too much time playing video games. And when I really look at what influences what I like in games right now, that was the start of it. Playing Twisted Metal, local multiplayer with my friends, and shooting car rockets at each other and, destroying each other with these crazy cars. I mean, I loved cars and I loved talking trash with my friends. And
I've had some GoldenEye moments with that right there. Yeah.
That was another one, right? N64 with GoldenEye. Those games really have a big impact on me and what I like now. So I think that's what I would have to go with is probably that Twisted Metal era, the Twisted Metal 1 and 2. Man, we played all night long till stupid hours in the morning. Yeah. And still to this day, I mean, that was a huge influence on Cosmotrons. I think you guys will see it right away, right? That getting people together, the couch multiplayer idea, but you're standing.
I miss that, man. People are abandoning that.
We did too, and that's what we felt like. We felt like, not enough people are doing justice to that thing, that social part of gaming where you're actually with your friends and rubbing elbows and talking trash. And that experience, yelling at each other and,
that's the talking trash I don't mind. It's this anonymous trash talking that just drives me
when you get the keyboard bullies, and that's no fun.
Keyboard bullies, yes. Real quick then, PlayStation Classic. Quick thoughts on that.
Yeah, actually, I don't have one. Okay. You'd think I would, but right now, as Shane said before, I have so little time for consuming video games as of late that I don't have one of those.
Well, hold on now. I got to back up to Mega Man. All right, so Mega Man 2 or 3? Ooh. Which is better?
Good question. Very good question. Easy choice for me, Mega Man 2.
That's the right choice.
That's the correct answer.
Mega Man 3, of course, awesome, but Mega Man 2 definitely all around, especially the music on both is amazing. But the music on 2,
Yeah, 3 is excellent, but 2 is correct.
I like the slide. The slide is great.
Yes. The slide's great.
Rush is good for sure, but I don't know, something about 2 just does it for me. The
Mega Buster is I love the Mega Buster because they introduced it in 4, but like 5, I played 5 a lot. So in Cosmotrons, we have a special weapon called the Cosmo Buster, and in your ship, when you hold shoot, you have to hold shoot for about 2 seconds to charge it up, and then you release shoot, it shoots, and there's some influence there. Next time you play, you'll notice the influences.
Nice.
Yeah. There's other ones. If you pay attention, you'll see them.
Yeah.
Well, I love picking your all's brain on this. This is cool. Like, you're right. I mean, it's still fresh in my mind playing the game, so like I can totally see all these influences and think they're right on. This is kind of a weird question, I guess. What's your favorite game character, sprite? Like, the Pac-Man or the Galaga ship or Mega Man, etc. Like, what would you all like? If you're gonna get a tattoo or something, what would you put on there?
I'd say for me, my first thought goes to Mega Man, just because of how influential those games were on my life back then, and like Mega Man 2, just how much I played that, and Mega Man 5, and just like how he runs, it's hilarious, and I don't know, I really like that sprite, and
I love
the
character
in general.
Yeah,
and how the blinking, and
very cool choice.
So I don't know that I'm going to get any tattoos of them, but I really like the. I don't know if you guys ever played General Chaos, but the art. I can
recall the artwork for it.
Yeah, it's satirical, and I enjoy that kind of thing. And I really like the kind of the comedy that comes out in the characters and the way that they were. And to me, going back to General Chaos, and maybe it's just nostalgia speaking, but those generals kind of talking in the load screens, and they're talking trash to each other, and those guys, I really like the artwork in that game. I thought it was awesome.
I love the obscure answer. That's good. I mean, Mega Man's respect. I love Mega Man too, but that's cool. I like getting both answers. Was that a Sega Genesis game, or was that on multiple systems?
Yeah, it was a Genesis game, and it was the first Genesis game to use a 4-player adapter.
Oh, cool. A little bit of trivia. Nice.
Wow. And I have a signed copy from Brian.
Cool.
I had a complete in-box copy, and one of the last times I saw Brian, he signed it for me, so that was pretty awesome.
No, I love the Genesis. Like, they're easier to collect those complete in-boxes because they actually thought ahead and made the boxes a little more durable.
Yeah.
Unlike NES or Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64. Like, they're just made to be thrown out.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because I love looking at box art. Mm-hmm. Such a big part of the experience for me.
Well, what's interesting, I mean, think about it, like back in the day, you go to a store, that's how you knew about the game, was from still images and then in magazines too. But you're just reading and looking at
right in the back of the box.
This is how you know about the game. Yeah. Instead of now, like, man, like you can watch a whole playthrough on a game and like know pretty quickly if you're gonna like something or not.
Yeah.
Right.
It's great both ways. Like, it's nice to have that sometimes when you're spending $60 on a game, but
like there was that one Super Nintendo game that was like the old man with the banjo, like sitting on a porch.
Yeah, what were they thinking in that game? Like, who's gonna look at that? Yeah, it was like a shooter. It was like a shoot 'em up, right? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Weird box art. So my final question for the get to know the gamer. And this could be really abstract. I mean, really, who are some of your biggest creative inspirations? Like, it could be anything. It could be musical, movies. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the gaming purview. But who are some inspirations for you guys?
In terms of creative inspirations, being a car guy my entire life, like I took a lot of inspirations from some of the different design studios and car designers. And like an example that, like Pininfarina, Ferrari, just how beautiful some of those cars are, and the elegant design, and like form follows function. So when we designed our arcade cabinet, that was something that was important to me in terms of when we designed our Deluxotron, that like every single bit on there should be functional. There should be no extra flashy kind of business or scoops or whatever. Mm-hmm. So like that was part of it.
It does look like a race car a little bit. It's nice.
Yeah, like smooth or kind of organic, curvaceous. And then in terms of like game design type stuff, definitely mentioned like Brian Colin, Miyamoto, huge. Like just in terms of so many of his games, the Mario series, and just like the idea of anytime you're going to release something, it should somehow be different. Like there's no point of, you made Mario 1, you shouldn't make it again, even though they kind of did.
Right. Sure, as far as we knew, they didn't.
Right. Doki Doki Panic and all that. But like going from, well, you look at Mario 64 to Mario Sunshine, like you can't just redo Mario 64. You got to up something. You got to change the mechanic. It's not just graphical changes. It's make it somehow fun. Just all kinds of different things with Miyamoto. It blows my mind in terms of, I don't know, it's like a philosophy.
Yeah, well said, man. Well said. Yeah, as a like a level designer, I mean, you cannot have a greater inspiration than Miyamoto. I mean, guy's a legend. What about you, Dave?
So I guess, when I struggled to answer this question, but I went somewhere completely different than game design.
That's cool.
And so when I was younger, I played bass guitar throughout high school. And one of the people that I super looked up to was Flea. I just thought, he's like this crazy off the wall guy that you looking at a picture of him, you
jamming in his underwear.
Like the guy's jamming in his underwear on the stage, and you're like, what the heck, right? But he's super talented. The guy is ridiculous amount of talent, and I think it just kind of goes to show like that anybody that puts the effort in and has that drive, you can take yourself wherever you want to go. Which I just thought, it's kind of it is inspirational, and Chili Peppers are actually one of my favorite bands to this day. They make really good music, so I like them a lot. But yeah, of course, I mean, there's been so many, we talked about it already, there's been so many video games that have influenced my life. And I mean, even like you say, all the way back to Nintendo, and every Nintendo system has kind of a special place somewhere in my heart.
Yeah.
Even now playing Wii U with my kids, it's pretty cool to enjoy a game with kids. Like you said, you got an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And to be able to play one game and as an adult you're having fun, but they're still capable of, working through the game with you and playing. Pretty awesome.
Definitely. And he's very open to the classics too, which is cool.
Yeah, that's super cool.
He loves Fortnite, but he will play the Mario games and stuff as well.
It's funny how they don't have that thirst for the graphics. They're still kind of like pure at heart. Like as long as the game's fun, they don't care.
They don't know any different. Yeah, they'll just play anything. It's a game. They're just having fun.
Then I'll play it. So.
Yeah, they'll come running home from school, like maybe they had a game in like a STEM type class, and it's just some free Java game that he was playing on his computer, and he's like, "Can we get this? Is that on Switch?" And I'm just like, "No, probably not, but we can look." All right,
nice,
cool. All right, so let's have a little bit of fun now with our 5 questions game. This is multiple choice. You guys have no idea what's coming, but I did try to tailor it to your all's. Try to tailor it to you. I tried doing a little bit of research on you guys based on, things that I could look up on you all. And it's not super specific to you individually, but you'll kind of get the picture when I start this game. So you can confer with one another. You don't have to shout right out. You can see, however you want to answer.
One answer.
One answer. Yep.
One answer.
It's multiple choice. And it's kind of like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and you'll have some familiar musical cues probably too if you've ever watched that show. All right, so you guys ready?
Yeah.
Our last guest got 3 out of 5 correct.
So there is a right or wrong answer.
There is absolutely a right or wrong. These are researched, and I do the best I can. I try not to just simply go by wiki, but there are correct answers, and I ran these by Nick, and I don't think that any of these are incorrect. You can for sure debate me on it if you feel like it's wrong. But there are right answers. So
okay,
one correct answer, 3 incorrect answers. So ready?
Ready.
All right, let's let the games begin. All right, so question number 1. Cosmotrons is a 4-player multiplayer arcade game. Which of these other arcades is not 4 players? Is it A, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade, B, The Simpsons arcade, C, NBA Jam, or D, Smash TV?
Do we get a lifeline?
I'm sorry, you do not get a lifeline. And no Google on the phone.
I'm just kidding. I think we got the answer to this one.
Yeah, that's a easy question. Easy questions. D, Smash TV.
You got it. So I tried to start you out a little bit soft, but so far you're 1 for 1. All right. Question number 2. Cosmotrons is an arcade shooter featuring spaceships. You are based in Wisconsin. Which of these famed Mercury 7 NASA astronauts was born in Wisconsin?
Oh, jeez.
Is it A, John Glenn, B, Deke Slayton, C, Alan Shepard, or D, Gus Grissom?
I'm not up on all my astronaut history.
I don't think I know this answer at all.
I'm sure it's not A. I'm sure it's not A.
Okay.
So we have to take a guess. B, C, or D.
Yeah, see, this is where we need that lifeline. We need to cut the questions in half.
I think you should just choose, and then if you get wrong, I'll yell at you.
Shane said the answer is C. I don't know if you heard that.
C is your final answer? Alan Shepard?
Dave's really confident on C.
Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't. It was Deke Slayton. He was born in Sparta. Sparta, Wisconsin.
Sorry, Deke. Deke, if you're watching, sorry. With you.
I thought that might be played a little dirty, but you never know. Like, it could be like something that's really well known in Wisconsin. John Glenn was born in Cambridge, Ohio. Alan Shepard, Derry. Weird place. He shares that with the Stephen King universe. And Gus Grissom was in Mitchell, Indiana. So 1-1.
All Midwest.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Well, except for Derry, I guess. That's northeast, right? New Hampshire.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, okay, question number 3. That was hard. I think you guys will do better with this one. Okay, Arcadeaholics is a great name for people who are addicted to arcade games. Which of these 4 space-themed cabinets were gamers addicted to most based on number of cabinets sold? Okay. Was it A, Defender?
Space Invaders.
B, Space Invaders? C, Galaxian? Or D, Asteroids?
I'm expecting you know.
Oh, you want me to answer that?
I'm assuming you know this.
Very interesting about Space Invaders, like the whole story about how it, like in Japan and the Japanese yen or whatever the coins, there was a shortage of coins because of Space Invaders or whatever. But I know Asteroids sold a lot. Asteroids was like, I think it was like 70,000 cabinets or something like that, but Space Invaders was more. B.
So B, Space Invaders? You nailed it.
That's like exactly how I said it.
Yeah. Do you want to guess how many cabinets sold?
Worldwide?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I can't. Actually, the source didn't specify worldwide, so.
Okay.
Know.
My guess would be in the United States. I'm sure it was over 100,000. For sure, over 100,000 in the United States. So I'm just gonna guess and say 200 grand.
It could be. This number may be worldwide then. 360,000. So
okay.
that's a huge number. Defender, by the way, was 60,000. Galaxian 40,000, and Asteroids was 100,000. So it was definitely very popular as well. So good job, guys. Two out of three. 2 out of 3. Okay, question number 4. This is a tough one. Cosmo is the first name of which Seinfeld character? Was it A, the Soup Nazi? B, Babu, owner of the Dream Cafe?
You're
C,
very bad.
C, Kramer, or D, Newman? If you need a lifeline, maybe I'll...
Are you a Seinfeld? Have you ever watched Seinfeld?
Yes, I've seen it. I'll let you answer this one.
Kramer.
Of course, Kramer. You guys are doing great.
Cosmotrons is named after him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
The Cosmotrons.
I said Cosmotrons is named after Cosmo Kramer. No, it's not.
Okay, I was like, that true? Okay, question number 5. You guys ready? You're doing great. Here we go. Arcadeaholics LLC is a small team of 2. Which of these famous indie classics was also developed by only 2 people? Was it A, Minecraft, B, Braid, C, Axiom Verge, or D, Stardew Valley?
What was A?
Minecraft.
Minecraft? I thought Minecraft was 2 people because I thought there was some big huge dispute like between the 2 people. The one person's like super rich and the other person kind of created a different version.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say Super Meat Boy because I know Super Meat Boy was 2 people.
Just say I've played all these. I
feel bad because that was originally one that I was going to pick, but sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't choose that one yet. I'll give you a hint. 3 of the others is 1 person. So
Yeah, say Braid. I think Braid is. I think remember that guy being solo. I'm leaning towards Minecraft.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm kind of guessing here, but I think you might be right. I do remember some. I thought I remembered something like that. I don't know much about Stardew Valley. I haven't played it. I haven't really heard much about that development team because I haven't played it. I have played all the other ones, so they're good games.
Axiom Verge is a really good game.
Yeah, I'm a huge Metroid fan, so naturally I had to check out Axiom Verge.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely.
I've bought it for like 3 different platforms. It's a fun game. So, what do you guys think? What's it gonna be?
I go with Minecraft.
Okay, we're going with A, Minecraft.
I'm sorry. Minecraft, according to my research, was 1 guy.
Okay.
Marcus Notch.
Notch. Yeah. That's what I was trying to think of that guy's name, Notch.
Now, you know, if I'm wrong, I'll be sure to own up to it when I do some more research. But the correct answer, and this is funny that you would say because you were sure it wasn't Braid, but apparently Braid was 2 people. The lead designer was Jonathan Blow, and their artist, he had an artist working with him his name is David Hellman.
Braid is the one where, like, you kind of go back in time.
Yes. Also really famous, sold on everything.
Axiom
Verge was 1 guy. That was Todd Happ. And Stardew Valley, 1 guy, Eric Barone.
Yeah, that's crazy. Stardew Valley was 1 guy.
1 guy. That game is massive.
And they just released all that multiplayer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I wonder if he has like a team now that he has some scratch like to help him out with.
Yeah, maybe that's what helped him get to that point. Yeah. It's
like I don't feel like killing myself again for this game. But yeah, you know, also Axiom Verge, very, very long game.
Yeah. That had to have been a ton of work.
Cool. Well, just like our previous guests, 3 out of 5, very respectable. Very respectable. And you know what? I'll be sure to give you guys credit if I go back and research and discover some reason I might be wrong. Because, you know, you get online, you start checking around, and, you know, the people could have different sources and there could be disputes like, oh, no, there was 1 guy claiming, but there was actually 2. You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the end of our episode, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I had a great time. I had a feeling you guys were going to be really similar to, you know, us. I could just tell talking to Shane and Dave, you know, chatting back and forth. It's my pleasure, guys.
Yeah, it's great having you.
Yeah.
Definitely appreciate you guys having us on.
Yeah.
Enjoy your show, your format, questions, that kind of stuff. Really appreciate it. And of course, very much appreciate you guys playing Cosmotrons and noticing, the attention to detail and depth and all that kind of stuff that we're putting in there and enjoying it and so on. So hopefully there'll be one near you guys soon so you can battle it out.
Yeah.
I'll be checking your map. I'll be checking that map every now and then to see if I can't find it somewhere. I'll drive a little bit. I'm not going to come to. I probably won't come to Wisconsin, but I'll definitely drive a little ways because it's really fun.
Yeah.
So it takes me back to a time when just going to the arcade was special, and we have a few barcades. I'm gonna have to try and hit some people up, talk to them, see if I can't lobby for it if possible.
Yeah.
We know a few people, possibly could get in their ear.
Yeah, Zanzibar, Rec Bar.
Yeah, 2 pretty good sized bars with lots of games, and I honestly don't know if they do the newer games or if it's just strictly retro. But
Zanzibar is more retro. I can't speak for Rec Bar.
Yeah, cool. Well,
those
thanks
are
again.
The environments, so they'll work well. I mean, our game works well pretty much everywhere, but we find that those places that do have a good arcade crowd at a bar, our machines do very well there. People seem to really enjoy that. So, like Shane said, we really appreciate it. Appreciate all the nice things you guys had to say, bring us into the show too. It's nice to hear.
Well, yeah, thanks for playing along and indulging us with the game and everything. I hope you guys had fun.
Oh yeah, it was fun.
Great.